What happened in Hector DAO in 4 short weeks?
Full audit from Certic, which is we had like a decentralized vote on that. We listed on Hotbit, which is a centralized exchange. The push towards opening and expanding our protocol and getting it into the minds of investors around the world where we're traditionally not based. So we released USDC and DAI 4.4 bonds, which has been amazing. Our treasury has become absolutely enormous. We're sitting on about $97-98 million of stablecoin now. There are two partners who are helping lower the barrier to entry for the Phantom network. So Rubik allows you to trade from any chain to any chain with any token. We've done many AMAs and interviews.
What's going on, Cowboy? In this video, we are revisiting a project we looked at earlier in this year, Hector DAO, and we've got Prometheus, one of the minds behind this whole project, and we need to find out, hey, was our money put in a place where it is going to show some growth, or is this a complete scam? Is this going to be here in 6 months, a year, or is it, is it going to go away? We need to find out, and we need to find out what has been the progress since last video. If this is your first time watching something about Hector on this channel, I need you to check out the links in the description down below. The first link will be the link to our first AMA, our first Ask Me Anything, okay? Now, if you're new to this channel, my name is Aaron. I'm on a journey to my next Bitcoin while helping you to your next Bitcoin, okay? I'm not your financial advisor, but I'm just trying to get the best source of information for you and me to invest in. Look, if you go on like YouTube and you look at these other YouTubers and stuff like that, they might give you biased information or terrible information or whatever. I feel like Ask Me Anythings are the best way to get into the brains of people to figure out, hey, where's this project going on? So we've got Prometheus. He's one of the minds behind Hector DAO in the hot seat right now. Prometheus, welcome back to the channel.
Aaron, it's great to be back. Cowboys, it's great to be talking to you again. I'm going to throw it out there. I am wearing my cowboy hat and my Christmas jumper for this one, so we've got the double theme going on. It's going to be great. Let's kill it.
Love it. Love it, love it. So, Prometheus, maybe a little bit of background of someone who doesn't know who you are. What's your background coming into crypto?
Yeah, so I am Prometheus. I'm one of the co-founders and strategic lead, and I do a bit of marketing, obviously, for Hector DAO. How did I get into crypto? Well, I kind of got into the crypto industry, or rather the crypto space, right towards the end of the last bear season. So as you can imagine, that was pretty fun because I was like, oh no, it's impossible to make money. Yeah, everything was red. It was super fun. It was a learning experience. We'll call it a baptism of fire. But I've kind of always been around tech. I grew up taking apart computers and putting them back together and getting in trouble hiding things in them, and getting in trouble at school for messing around with the local intranet systems there. And I've always just been obsessed with tech. And one of my other real passions is economics and finance. And so, what better way is there to have those two passions combined than cryptocurrency, right? It's literally right at the center of where those two things overlap. So that's how I got into it. Started investing in traditional stocks when I was like 19, 20 maybe. So a little bit of time ago now. And made some decent returns. But we all know that crypto it's got some crazy opportunities, right? It's where you make the really fun plays and the big money if you make the right choices. And so, as I said, around the end of the last bear market, I got involved with cryptocurrency because I was on the trading platform I was using. I was seeing all of these new coins popping up, and I was thinking, wow, this is really taking off. It's starting to get institutional attention. So, maybe there's something there. Maybe there's something I should go and explore. Fell down the rabbit hole as we all did, and here I am a couple of years later, and I've loved every second of it. Not so much loved the losses that I've made, as we all have, but it's part of the learning process. And now here I am running a project like Hector DAO, and it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
It's been the honor of my life. I always say it to the community. It truly is my dream job. So yeah, I'm in a pretty good spot.
Awesome. Now, tell us about Hector DAO for some of us who aren't familiar with it. What's it all about? What are you guys trying to do?
Yeah, for sure. So we started off as a fork of Olympus. So for those who don't know, Olympus is a project that kind of innovated the rebase mechanism. So super high APYs for staking, basically. Over time, we've adapted things and written our own protocols and stuff within that system. But we deployed onto the Phantom chain, which is it's slightly less well known, but it is gaining a lot of traction. Super low transaction fees, really fast time to finality of settlements, really scalable. Because it uses something called a directed acyclic graph. So rather than kind of block connection, block connection. It's like a graph that spirals outwards, so it becomes more scalable as it grows, which is, we've seen the scaling issues that chains like Ethereum have, and they're going to great lengths to solve it, but Phantom doesn't have those issues in the first place. So very bullish on Phantom. So the project itself, we started as a fork of Olympus, as I said, and over time we've developed and adapted and innovated and improved, and we call ourselves jokingly a spoon of Olympus. So it's, we're always looking for cooperation and innovation, and we're eventually kind of slowly pivoting away from being just a rebase reserve currency type token to a utility token. So we're developing a lending and borrowing protocol for Phantom, where you can lend out and borrow stable coins and other, even volatile assets. We're creating protocol and liquidity as a service for the Phantom chain. Various other things. We have an NFT drop coming soon, and eventually those NFTs are going to have utility. All sorts of cool stuff. So I guess the main thing that draws investors to the project right now is the high APYs that we have. So we offer something like 100,000% per year, which you're not going to get at a bank. And as the project grows, you obviously can't provide APYs that are crazy high like that forever. They will always be high. We're always going to outcompete your brick and mortar bank. But as I said, since our last interview, we've been slowly starting to pivot towards being a utility as well, so that we can reward our holders and our amazing community in ways other than APY rewards, so that we can keep the longevity of the project.
Yeah. I'm glad you bring up our last interview. Okay. If you were watching, be sure to check out that last interview. We had that last interview 4 weeks ago. Okay. And so usually people don't want to come back so fast, but what happened in Hector DAO in 4 short weeks to where it would warn you to come back here and talk to us cowboys about what's going on in Hector?
So many things. I thought it would be a fun way to do this. So I'm currently sitting on our announcement channel for our community, and I'm going to run through and I'm going to talk about all of the major ones, if that's all right. I feel like that's probably the best way to do this.
Let's do it.
So since then, we have requisitioned a full audit from Certic, which is we had like a decentralized vote on that. To allocate the funds of the project towards that. It was something like $70,000. So Certic is now auditing all of the contracts.
$70,000.
They're expensive, but they're industry leading. So if you want that security and that peace of mind, and you want to be seen as a legit project, then that's one of the things you have to do. And the Certic are great to work with anyway. So it's always been pretty smooth working with them. So that is in progress right now. So that's a major thing. We listed on Hotbit, which is a centralized exchange, which is kind of a push towards opening and expanding our protocol and getting it into the minds of investors around the world where we're traditionally not based. So we're mostly EU and American, and a little bit of Asia, but we're pushing into new territories with Hotbit. We have innovated and released more 4-4 bonds. So traditionally, for those who are uninitiated, one of the ways that the protocols like ours build revenues and build profits is that we offer bonds. And bonds are like, instead of trading at the market, you come directly to our protocol and you say, I want to buy some HEC tokens, and we give you a discount in exchange for you giving us stable coins, usually DAI or USDC. So that was the old system, and what we have innovated is 4-4, and we're starting to see a lot of other projects follow suit, which, by the way, is great. We love innovation wherever it may be.
Yeah.
So 4-4 bonds are bonds where the rewards are paid in tokens that are staked from the second you purchase the bond. So you make significantly more returns on those bonds. So everybody wins. So we released USDC and DAI 4-4 bonds, which has been amazing. Our treasury has become absolutely enormous. We're sitting on about $97-98 million of stable coins now. So we have the funds to be going for a long, long time. We are so excited about what we've got planned with those funds. So we're in a really good spot there.
Wow.
Just other various stuff, like we were listed on Luna Crush as the most influential project on the Phantom network. That was an absolute pleasure to see. It was an honor to see that. We've started a charity foundation called the Hector Charity Fund. So we're going to be taking the proceeds from a merch store that we've launched. 50% of the profits from that are going to go to charities that the community votes on. Last I checked, the leading competitor in that one, the leading prospect of charity in that one was the Childhood Leukemia Foundation, which that's amazing to be able to help in that way. So we're starting to really to give back, which is that's an amazing feeling, right? For even if
Yeah,
you're an
absolutely.
investor or a project member, it's just great to be able to do that. Um, let's have a scroll through, find more of these. We've listed on Rubik and Yoshi exchanges. They're two partners who are helping lower the barrier to entry for the Phantom network. So Rubik allows you to trade from any chain to any chain with any token. Which, if you've ever bridged tokens, you'll know that that's a big deal. That's really really cool. So
I was about to say, yeah, is that like a bridge?
kind of, yeah, it's like a bridge and an exchange built into one.
Mhm.
It's really really
Oh,
cool. I've personally used it a few times. It's amazing how kind of fast and effective it is and how low the fees are. So that's been really, really cool. Yoshi is kind of in a similar vein, but they're creating a closed cycle payment system so that you can buy Phantom or Hector, for example, with fiat currency just using your Visa card, which is an absolute game changer because the easier the on ramp is for traditional investment to come into the crypto space. Obviously, the more growth we have, and then we can hit more bull runs. Um, we've done many, many, many AMAs and interviews, which is always an absolute pleasure for myself. I always joke that I I somehow managed to get my dream job. Like I wake up every day and I'm like, I can't wait to do all these interviews. So
that's awesome.
it's really been an absolute pleasure, to be honest, to be part of the project in this way for the last. I mean, we're 50, 60 days old, something like that now. So we've made incredible strides. I think really the main takeaway is that um, we have a partnership with Rari Capital, who are a multi-billion-dollar company who create they have APIs and technologies that allow you to create lending and borrowing pools. So the majority of our lending and borrowing solution is going to be based off those technologies at first. So we have a partnership with Rari. So we're bringing in the experts to make sure that what we create is functional and effective and safe, which is it's really important to us, obviously.
Hmm.
And the other thing I would really focus on is that, as I said, our treasury is almost touching $100 million of risk-free assets. So we can afford to keep paying our developers for hundreds of years at this point. I mean, it's
Yeah.
we're getting into some really really good territory. So we're very very
So
excited for the future.
So in about a little over a month here, you listed on what I count three exchanges: Hotbit, Rubik, Yoshi. You got a Certec evaluation. Your bond, you're still selling your bonds, but you're hitting to about 100 million in treasury. This one was the most interesting one. Luna crushes most influential projects on the Phantom chain. That was cool. And the Leukemia Foundation, or the Children for Leukemia charity here. Now, one thing that I didn't hear is like, how has your team grown in the last 4 weeks here?
Oh, it's been you know it, I have this internal joke with the team that it's my favorite problem to have, that we just can't expand the team fast enough. We're hiring people constantly, and we have this really great problem that we have all of these amazing people who want to join the team, and we interview so many people and bring so many people on board, and then we've got so much more kind of so many more work hours going into the projects that the speed that things are developing is increasing as well, and so we're having to adjust to how fast information flows between departments, and it's been a really interesting logistical challenge for sure, and one that we've risen to with pride. But um, I think when last we spoke, we were like maybe 20 people, including moderators, and now we're at 41. Um,
Wow.
yeah, it's been an incredible expansion, and that's going to be, that's those numbers are going to be dwarfed by what we do next year, because we're obviously branching out and creating a lending and borrowing protocol, an NFT platform, and various other things. So we're going to be hiring many many people, and it's just amazing to be in a position where we have the funds to do that. We're not on a shoestring budget anymore. We have the funds to be going for a very very long time. So I think we're going to be entering 2022 in a real position of strength. Regardless of how the markets look, and obviously they've not been particularly kind to anybody over the last few weeks. But regardless of that, we placed a real focus on creating treasury assets and building our treasury as fast as possible in the first month or so of our project lifecycle, and we're now getting the dividends from that. So we're able to do things like investing like $20 million into yield bearing assets of stable coins on Curve, for example, which are accruing about 7% per year, which is like $4 million, something like that.
Mhm.
So we're in a very very good spot. Really really excited for the future developments, and in a cathartic way, looking forward to all of those logistical challenges as they're going to come up, because they're, as I said, they're great problems to have. They're my favorite problems. Yeah, it's been really exciting over the last few weeks.
So your team has over doubled in the last. So like our last video was November 20th. Today is December 20th. People will probably see this a couple days from now. What has been the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome in the last month?
Oh, the biggest challenge. There's been a few. We've had, so I'd say token dilution has been one of the things that we've really addressed. This is one of these things where it's a problem that is going to come up as a rebase project. Any rebase developers who are out there listening to this, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But so for those who don't know, token dilution is, it goes like this. So when we take bonds of tokens, we are minting new Hector tokens, which are backed by the money that we get from those bonds. So it doesn't inherently decrease the value per token because we're backing them with real money, rather than just minting like a billion tokens with no value behind them. But with APY rewards, we have to mint tokens to give those APY rewards, which means that we have an expanding token supply. I mean, it's controllable with our project because we have an enormous treasury. But you have to be very forward thinking and get ahead of the curve very, very early, because obviously the larger the larger the token supply is, the faster it begins to grow because it grows as a percentage proportion. And so lowering APY rates is something that we've been very open with the community. I spend a lot of time talking to the community. I respond to every single direct message, like 150 per day most days. So we place a real kind of focus on being super open and explaining, look, we have to do it this way because of these reasons. And here's how we're planning to mitigate that. And here's how we're planning to reward people for sticking with us through this. But I would say that one of the major challenges has been the logistics of implementing those decisions and explaining them at the same time we have probably about 30,000 people in our Discord alone. We've had to hire many, many moderators and moderators, if you're listening, and I'm sure a few of you are, shout out to you guys, because you make my life so easy. I say the same phrase every time during our AMAs. We do weekly AMAs, but I always say, I love that I get to go to sleep and I wake up and I know that the chat is absolutely fine because our moderators are fantastic at their jobs. But that has been a major logistical challenge for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah. So having the moderators for the proper chats and the token dilution. Okay. So I get it. Now, what is the biggest thing you've learned in the last 4 weeks here?
That is an interesting one. As per the project or personally?
Both.
I'd say as per the project. When something expands this fast, crypto is a strange place, right? Fortunes can be made and lost very, very quickly, as we all know, and I think that's what draws a lot of us to this space. Certainly myself. And as the funds get larger, the risk profile has to decrease, obviously. But we built $100 million of treasury assets in like 50 days, that's fantastic. Like $2 million a day.
Insane. That's insane.
It's wonderful. We owe it to the community, really. It's been a fantastic journey, but expansion that fast, you just can't prepare for how much of a logistical challenge it's going to be. When you have to hire new team members, and then you have to train these people, and then you have to write documentation and contracts and guidance, and then you have to, the amount of meetings I have, for example, is like tripled over the last week. So I have like 5 internal team meetings per week, so that's at least 1 per day, which, that's fine. I love doing those meetings. I love speaking with people, obviously, but I think that in terms of the project, the one lesson has been that no plan survives contact with the enemy, I guess. Okay. We knew expansion was coming, obviously, but you have to be on top of it. There are no shortcuts. There really aren't. And it's been nice to be able to have that validated where, we work incredibly hard as a team, but to be able to work hard enough has been really rewarding, because there are times where you sit here thinking, this is expanding really fast and that's a great problem to have, but how do we keep doing this? So yeah. I think that's been a major learning point for the project. I'd say personally, what's been the biggest learning point? I was scrolling through Twitter the other day, and I was looking at Vitalik, who is the Ethereum creator, and he did this thing where he was like, I'm going to follow 100 people, and then only the people I follow can respond to my tweets. And then he said, like, for the next hour, I will answer any question that is on this thread. So of those 100 people he followed, those were the people that could ask. And someone asked him a similar question, and he said that one of the biggest personal things that he's learned over the years being in Ethereum, and I'm not comparing Hector and Ethereum, by the way. Ethereum's far bigger and far more comprehensive, and I love Ethereum. It's wonderful. But he said one of the things you learn is that genuinely everything is going to be okay if you just keep working. And I kind of feel that. I mean, I obviously haven't learned that lesson to the extent that Vitalik has because he's dealing with a much larger project. But, there are times where things can look, the markets, for example, the Bitcoin dip has not been fun for anybody. If you predicted it and you shorted Bitcoin, congratulations. But for the holders like myself and yourself, it's not been particularly fun to wake up on red numbers for a lot of coins. But to be able to hang in there and have conviction and to be able to say, look, I'm willing to die on this hill. I will keep working. I will not be outworked. I think that's been one of the things that I've really learned. It's that kind of determinism of thinking. You kind of learn to separate yourself from the circumstances you're in. Like sometimes it's going to be sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes it's not. But if you can separate yourself from those things and think, well, I'm going to be working hard regardless, I think that's where true success comes from. And that's something massive that I've learned personally over the last few weeks for sure.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm reading 7 Habits of Highly Effective People right now, and one of the rules is like you could be reactive towards the environment, or you could be proactive in your own self and just like try to you could only control what you could control. There could be all kinds of stuff out there happening, but you're in control of you, and you're running Hector, and you're pushing it. It doesn't matter what's happening out in the market, as long as you guys keep on working. It, like Vitalik said, it's all going to be okay. I mean, like no one's going to outwork you,
Yeah.
which does. Oh, sorry. Yeah, maybe you wanted to respond to that.
Yeah, I was going to mention I've read the book, so I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
it's a great book.
If you've read Think and Grow Rich, there's a thing where he talks
Another
about
one.
a burning passion and desire, and I think when you
Mhm.
can really lock into, like, I believe in Hector. I have absolute conviction. I know that we are going to create something that changes the game. I know that the team is capable of doing it. I know that they will work hard, and I know that we have the funds, and that makes it so much easier for. Like, I'm in a pretty privileged position, right? I'm not going to pretend that I'm not. But it allows me to display that confidence and conviction to the community who are perhaps, they're not in the team. They don't know the secret developments we're creating. They don't see how excited our developers get. And but for me to be able to display that conviction and that passion, I think is a real privilege, and it's something I take very seriously, and I'll never take for granted.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congratulations on all that you've accomplished so far. Okay, but we're going to get to the next part of this interview. But before we do, I want to ask you. You said you will not be outworked, and you're working so hard, and your meetings have tripled. I got to ask, are you getting compensated? How are you getting compensated for all this stuff? Are you doing it all for free? Are you getting paid? Like, what's your situation, your financial relationship with Hector?
So let's do it chronologically. So when the project launched, there was no whitelist, no token allocation, no pre-sale, no team allocation. We vested a wallet of marketing funds, which were then reflected back to our marketing team weekly. So there was never like a controlling supply of tokens, but that was it. We all bought in when the project launched. I got in quite late, to be honest, because I was focusing so much on the community and communicating the contract addresses and dealing with people trying to scam people. We all know how it is. We've seen it. But that was the only source of funding for me from the project. And I really haven't sold much anyway, because why would I, right, if I believe in the project? And then about 2-3 weeks in, we got to a position where the project was making enough revenue where I decided, okay, this is that moment. This is the all-in moment where it works or it doesn't. And I decided to go all in. So I quit my job, and this is now my career. And
Wow.
yeah, it is one of the I had such mixed feelings at the time because it was a scary decision, right? It is. No one can ever say that, walking away from the traditional finance stable job,
Just
9 to 5, like it's
all
stable,
in.
right? It's predictable. I know that I'm going to have that job in a year, unless something horrific happens. But to then step away from that into a completely volatile space where your success is predicated purely on how hard you work, and even the markets can basically determine how much you're going to walk home with at the end of the week. But no, I went all in. This is now my career. This is my job. So I am salaried to Hector. I'm not the only one. Our developers are salaried as well, and I suspect I won't be the last to do what I have done. But yeah, I am now being compensated for it, and it's a wonderful feeling, to be able to. I see it more of like it's not so much like oh, we built something successful, that's great, that's part of it, that's a great thing. I think I see it more as the level of trust that has been placed upon myself and the team is humbling. I
Oh,
wake up every day and realize that there are tens of thousands, perhaps even hundreds of thousands, certainly hundreds of thousands of people watching us, if not hundreds of thousands of people who are financially tied to the project now. And to see, to feel the trust that's been placed upon us is humbling. And I think that's what it helped me keep a level head and keeps me grounded. I don't sit here thinking, well, I'm going to declare victory because I've achieved the dream, right? I've created my own career, but I plan to be working for Hector for a very, very long time, if not forever at this point. And
awesome.
we have the funds to do it, so yeah, I'll be here for a long time for sure. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
it's
That's
an
awesome.
incredible feeling. It really is the dream. It's my dream job, so I'm just so thankful that I get to do this.
I don't want to get too detracted, but I'm just so interested. I remember you saying you had a family, right? What did your family think?
um, well, okay, let's pretend for a second that it's not crypto. So let's play devil's advocate and go into hypotheticals here. Let's say that I set up a business in the traditional world. I don't know, like a clothing line or something, and I'm like, okay, well, it's now making enough money that I can draw a salary. Which, by the way, I think a lot of people know that that's quite rare and it takes years to get to that point anyway. But let's
Yeah.
just say that I'm in that spot.
It
Even
takes
in
more than a month.
yeah, it does take more than a month. It takes more than 50 days to make $100 million. Put it that way.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's even in that situation where things are slightly more stable, less volatile, you're still going to have family members and friends telling you that you're crazy, and it's not because they're trying to drag you down; it's because they care, and I get that. But sometimes you have to put the blinkers on. You have to say, no, this is my moment. Like I'm all in, or it's going to fail. This is one of those life moments where I'm like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make it happen, or I'll regret it forever.
Yeah.
So now, kind of combine that with cryptocurrency, which many people still either don't understand or think is an outright scam. I've had
It's like this
community
is a
members.
scam. I think
I,
it's a scam.
I mean, well, there are scams on crypto, right? It's not regulated, but I've had family
Yeah.
members where I've been like, in the early days where I started to make money from crypto, and they were like, "Oh, I thought that was like dodgy," and I'm like, "Oh man, we have a long way to come if we're going to get this true investment from the real world." But
Yeah.
I my family's been incredibly supportive. I'm very, very lucky to have a family who,
Awesome.
there's been that conversation, right, where it's like you've got to understand the risks, you've got to keep your risk profile low, and all of that, and that's just sensible advice in life. But when I tell people I'm essentially a project manager in a cryptocurrency startup, and people are they just don't get it, and it's a
What?
really weird thing.
What? Yeah,
But
it's called Hector DAO. What?
yeah, yeah, that really, I've had that conversation
Yeah,
a
we're
few
100
times.
million in our bank right now.
See, when you
What?
say that, people are suddenly like, "Oh, congrats! I guess you've made it." And I'm like, I haven't made it. I don't consider myself as having made it, but thanks. Maybe in a few years. I try
Awesome.
to not look at what I've done. I try to look at what is left to do. There's certainly space for evaluating your achievements, and for example, your YouTube channel has seen some really impressive growth, and you should be very proud of
Yeah.
it. And your Telegram community is pretty large as well. I dipped in and had a look earlier, and I guess you may have had a similar experience where you think this is really cool, but it's now normal. And then
Yeah.
you get on this kind of hedonic treadmill where you're like, I've got to keep going for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I think that's kind of healthy. It's kind of competitive in some ways, but you have to be able to take a step back and A, live in the real world for a little bit and spend time with
Yeah.
your family, but also B, um, take stock of how much you've achieved and celebrate and congratulate yourself for that. But I tend to
Yeah.
lean more towards the constantly looking to the next horizon mindset. I feel that I just go crazy if I don't have long term goals. To be honest, I'm just one of those people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's an old adage, right? No one is successful by themselves. They everyone always has some kind of community around them. And I'm very blessed, and I know you're very blessed to have like an awesome community in Hector. And I know that there's a bunch of cowboys that are part of that community, which I'm super excited for them about because of all this growth. But you did mention multiple times the next horizon. There's so much more to do. I've got secret developments. I need you to talk about that now. We are put to the point where we've already talked about the last about the
Yeah.
project, about the last 4 weeks, and all the developments that have happened. Now it's the end of the year, going to 2022, and you specifically mentioned secret developments. I want to know about those. What are some of these secret developments that you are cooking up with the rest of the team?
Um, this is one that always gets a nice rush from the community. So I have had some productive conversations with Strong Block. David Moss is the CEO. I've had some productive one-on-one conversations with him. Um, for those of you who don't know, Strong Block is a massive, massive project. They essentially create nodes as a service. They're looking to come into Phantom, and we're looking to help them with that and perhaps create some technological. You know, I can't say a whole lot about what exactly it is we're attempting to do here, but it's going to be a masterpiece of cooperation if we can get it right. And I truly think that we can. You know, no partnership has been set in stone for the record, but I think it's technically feasible what we're planning to do. But I have conversations coming up with Chainlink, for example. So we're looking at cross chaining and dual liquidity pools. Chainlink are just a phenomenally talented team, so innovative, so amazing. You know, it's great to have conversations with these people. Those are the two things where I mentioned them in the chat subtly and just kind of put it out there and see how many people catch on to what I'm saying. But I'm really excited about those two. But in terms of some slightly more solid stuff, we are going to be creating we have almost $100 million of reserves, right? Those are project funds. So if you think about the size of the stuff that you could create with 100 million, it's large. You know, we're not just going to withdraw $100 million and be like, yeah, we're going to throw this all into one thing. We're going to be talking with the community and saying, look, we're going to start making official budgets and transparent budgets where we're going to set aside stable coin salaries, for example, is going to be something that we discuss. So that means that we can expand the team really fast with lower risk, which is really important because if you're asking developers to join the project, you need to be able to incentivize them to walk away from their day job, right? Because a lot of people do have day
Absolutely.
jobs. So that's something major that is coming up. And whilst it's not, I'm not saying, oh, we're going to be doing X, Y, Z and ABC. That is one of those signals, I think, where, you know, when you get developers that are working full time like that are extremely talented, where you can pay them the funds required to get that quality of developer, that's when the magical things happen. So we are looking into some really cool stuff in terms of helping support the Phantom network. I can allude to some stuff we're doing with regards to that, and expanding into other chains is something that we're going to be exploring as well, for sure. Lending and borrowing, the protocol is going to be expanding massively into a kind of a branch of Hector. And then we've got two other major projects which we'll be revealing fairly soon.
Okay. So yeah, you've kind of skimmed the surface on me with a lot of these things, right? We got strong block, a node creation. I don't know anything about that, so I'm sure people can pick up with what you're saying, but I don't know anything about that. Chain link. I'm more interested in what you said here. You're helping the Phantom network develop. What do you mean by that?
So we've had a lot of conversations. I have a contact in the Phantom Foundation. I'm not going to name this person, but I have a contact in the Phantom Foundation, and we've been having chats about we've spoken to them about the stuff that we do to help onboard people to Phantom. So we donate a few $1,000s a week in transaction fees to people to help them join the network, because when you bridge, it can sometimes be difficult to pay for your first transaction. So as a metric, like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, as of that point, we had donated. excuse me, we had donated 2,000 Phantom tokens, and we donate 0.1 per donation to each individual, meaning that we funded 20,000 new wallets on the Phantom network, which is incredible because we love Phantom and we're so excited to have people come here and see the greatness that we see in Phantom and explore what the chain has to offer. Outside of that, we're going to be making educational content on what rebase tokens are, how our project works, and a little bit about the Phantom network as well to contextualize that. So we're looking to really help get the Phantom name out there, because if the Phantom chain grows, we all benefit from it. And there are many projects on this network who are doing similar things. Exodia, for example, a fellow rebase token on the network, are leaning quite heavily into being the kind of informative, educational type of content, which is great to see. So, we're really pushing that narrative and creating one of our goals is to make Phantom a really kind of safe and profitable and professional and welcoming space. We really, really care about it. We love our community members. We want to make sure that everyone gets the best of the chain because the chain is incredible. We're also moving into slightly closer partnerships with projects on the network. So, for example, on Wednesday, I am going to be part of a roundtable with Phantom Alerts, who's a major kind of speaking voice on the Phantom network, and the developers of Exodia, who are a fellow rebase token, and Phantom, who are also a rebase token. So I'm really excited for that. They're really, really nice. All of those people, super, super nice. Really excited to have that conversation. But we're going to be creating kind of a cooperative atmosphere where we can present this this positive professional environment for all investors. I'm aware that we probably share many investors as projects, and it's great to see that. All of those projects are welcome as Hectorians, and all Hectorians are welcome to be part of those projects too. So, we're just really going to push this kind of professional cooperation and building together, because cooperation is where true success comes from, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about how you're going to be expanding the team, especially the developers here, being able to pay them a true salary to get the talent on board your team. Now, I got to revisit the strong block, man, and I think this will be the last thing to talk about here. What is going on there? Well, like help me understand the significance of this.
So, to explain strong block, what they do. So to secure a network, you have nodes and validators, right? So they're the miners, I guess you could call them as well. So they do the calculations and the cryptography, and then they append things to the network. And in exchange for that work, they get a transaction fee, which incentivizes them to support the network, and that allows it to be decentralized, because anybody can set up a node for any network, pretty much, unless you're in certain countries, obviously. And so that system's great, but there is a slight barrier to entry in that you have to buy the hardware and set it up yourself, and there's a certain level of technical expertise that is required to run that system. So Strongblock has kind of pioneered a system where you can just kind of do it in a transactional way. So you can purchase Strongblock nodes, and then a major part of that setup and running is done on your behalf. So you essentially receive what are kind of similar to APY rewards, but then they're more closely linked to the fact that nodes are being used to validate the network, and that's where a lot of that money comes from. So they lower the barrier to entry massively, and essentially, if you've got the funds, you can create the nodes. And it's been explosively popular, and it's supported networks, and they have major partnerships. So
you're buying a coin that's pegged to someone's hash rate.
Yeah, that's a pretty close approximation. Yeah, I mean, the best thing to do, by the way, for everyone listening, is go and visit Strongblock. Go to their website and their Discord. Great learning materials there.
So how does Hector merge with that?
So on September the 6th this year, Strongblock announced that it was going into partnership with Phantom to explore the prospect of bringing strong nodes onto the Phantom network to help it support the network and help it expand. And that obviously aligns very closely with our goals of supporting the network and helping it evolve, right? So it perfectly sits in line. And given that that is a stated aim of ours, we got in touch with Strongblock, or rather our community said, you guys should get in touch with Strongblock. And I think it was during a AMA with the Cryptonaires. People just put out a massive, massive call for it all over Twitter, and eventually that connection happened. So thanks to everyone who made that happen. That's exactly how you should do it.
That's awesome.
So David and myself, David is the CEO of Strongblock. David and myself got in touch, and we had a call about it. And essentially, we're looking to help facilitate them coming into the Phantom chain and help offer, let's call it, products and services which can facilitate the growth of Strongblock on Phantom. There are certain technological requirements that need to be met for that to happen, which is where we come in, because we are, we're on the Phantom chain, and we have the expertise of the chain, and Strongblock have also got incredibly talented engineers, and we're also talking to Phantom about it as well. But we're attempting to create something of a unified system that allows Strongblock to work really efficiently on the Phantom network and allows Hector users to interact with Strong Block in a really efficient and smooth way. I can't be a whole lot more specific than that. I think
I
that's
hear
about
you.
as
I
far as
hear
I
you
can go.
restraining yourself. I hear
Yeah,
you restraining everything.
yeah.
No problem.
The little monkey in my head with the symbols is really going trying to figure out where
Stop,
to go
stop,
next.
stop. No problem. I just, so if anyone wants to rewatch these last 2 minutes, I would then just try to pick out what he's saying here. It's all for you guys,
Scrutinize
for
all of it.
Cowboys.
Yeah, take it out
But
of
they are
context and
facilitating
eavesdrop for me.
the facilitating strong blocks, like landing onto the blockchain with certain technological advances. Well, I don't know what the heck, but we will find out sooner or later. Look, I got one last question for you, Prometheus, and it's, what are you most excited about in the next 4 weeks about Hector? It's been 4 weeks, it's been a month since we've talked, and who could have guessed like all these things could have happened? And I've got all my notes right here. What are you, the number one thing that you are most excited about Hector to tell everyone, and that's why they should be joining Hector?
4 weeks, that puts us on Monday the 17th of January.
Yep.
Ooh, there's some really cool stuff that I'd love to talk about here. The development and deployment of Hector Bank, which is our lending and borrowing, that's something I'm really excited about. It's technologically a very complicated thing that we're attempting to do here, and we're making great progress. But when that launches, I think it's going to allow us to expand and take another step towards being a utility over a rebase, which allows the project more longevity, more influence and power on the network, and more opportunities for expansion and more funds, of course. That's something I'm really, really personally excited about. But I think on a more kind of individual level, I'm really excited to start hiring more people and getting to know a broader team and seeing, I'm one of those people where I just love kind of top-down strategy and putting things into place and making things logistically happen. And so I'm really looking forward to setting up all of these pieces and having data flows and models for how the organization works and seeing that come to life. Now, I'm not so naive as to say that it's going to be really easy to do that, because it's not. But it's a challenge that I'm really looking forward to, getting to know all of these new people, continuing to make connections, such as the one that we've made. I really do rate all of your content. I watch all of it, by the way, so I'm a big fan.
Thanks.
You heard it here first. I completely endorse Aaron and the Cowboys. But making those connections has been fantastic. The conversations I've had the privilege of having with people like Strongblock and the one that's coming up with Chainlink have been because of these expansions, and so I'm just so excited for the opportunity that's going to open up to all of us as Hectorians and to the project itself. It's an incredibly exciting time, and it really is such a massive privilege and an honor to be a part of it in the way that I am.
That's fantastic. Look, guys, if you are watching this and you made it this far, thanks so much for watching. Check all the links in the description. I got one last thing for you, Prometheus, before we do it. But by the way, check the AMA, check the links, check out Hector, check out the first one because it'll tell you more about the project. Is there anything left that we haven't talked about that's been sitting, in the background that you want to bring to the foreground, or something that we haven't, or have we covered everything?
You know what? I think we've been very comprehensive. I would say that we have we've expanded our art team to have a full on internal in-house art team, and part of what those guys are doing is what I accidentally dubbed as the rebrand, because I realized now that's not an entirely accurate way of describing it. So I always put rebrand, and then the joke is that I put in brackets the logo and the name are not changing because rebrand has those connotations. But we're going to be leaning into the art style of Hector and the Battle of Troy and the marble pillars and stuff like that. So some of the concept art that we have for that is just really, really aesthetically pleasing. It hits all of those points that I love. I'd say that's going to be the dark horse, because that's going to change how a lot of people see the project. We're really lining up to be like a professional kind of institutional grade financial center of the Phantom Chain that also allows and supports and welcomes smaller investors as well, because those are our roots. But we're trying to get to that level where we can appeal to multiple strata of investors and levels of investment and funds, so that we can truly grow into a major financial center that works for the good of everybody. But I think the rebrand is going to be the dark horse of that one. That will be something that comes out of nowhere and suddenly changes a lot of things for people. So I would say keep an eye on that one. That should be rolling out with the new year.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. I'm looking forward to that. I always love that. I love rebranding the artwork and stuff like that because it gives the first face of Hector to people who don't know anything about it. And if you don't know anything about it, check out the links again in the description. Thanks so much, Prometheus, for joining me in the hot seat today. Guys, thanks for watching Lizard Brains. Cowboys always ride together. We'll see you guys in the next video.